Well, new information tonight in the growing foreclosure scandal. Investigators are honing in on questionable banking practices by some of the country's leading lenders. Today, more institutions announced they too are voluntarily suspending action on foreclosure cases in light of a startling disclosure that affidavits filed in some courts were not reviewed. There is growing pressure for a foreclosure freeze until regulators can get a handle on the scope of the problem. But some say that would be a mistake.
We could have a serious effect on the housing market in that over 30% of all residential sales right now are foreclosure properties, and freezing those would have a devastating effect on the housing market in terms of sales and pricing.
On the mainland, Old Republic Title stopped insuring some foreclosure deals. Local offices we called would not comment on whether that was the case here in Hawaii. But state regulators are moving ahead, investigating how those questionable bank practices might have affected Hawaii residents. KITV4's Catherine Cruz sat down with the state consumer protector to talk about the growing scandal. Catherine.
Well, you know, it's pretty serious stuff when federal and state regulators start putting the banking institutions under intense scrutiny, warning that if they aren't doing foreclosures by the book, they ought to stop. And now, one by one, lenders are coming to the table saying, whoops, we'd better stop what we're doing for a while.
The foreclosure scandal has touched a nerve with Hawaii State Consumer Protector.
Well, it's outrageous to be submitting information to court that you shouldn't be submitting.
Here in Hawaii, foreclosures are handled two ways, through a judge or outside of court. Title Guarantee, which is Hawaii's largest title insurance company, estimates that about 20% of all foreclosures across the state are handled through the courts. Levins is focused on trying to find out whether improper affidavits filed by any of the big lenders, like Bank of America and Chase, were used in Hawaii courts.
Someone is going to be foreclosing and someone's going to be filing documents in our courts. They better be doing it correctly, because if they're not doing it correctly, it really undermines the whole process, and that's what we're extremely concerned about.
Levin says federal and state investigators are looking at whether the documents submitted by the financial institutions were also signed without the presence of a notary as required by law. But whether the probe uncovers fraud or sloppy practices to save money, Levin cautions the cure or possible sanctions won't come fast.
There aren't any easy solutions right now. It's a very complex problem. We're looking into it very carefully with many other law enforcement authorities all over the country.
Levin says if someone is concerned about a recent foreclosure or sale and how it was handled, they should probably talk to a lawyer.
Levins is ahead of a new task force that was formed to look at if the state system of handling foreclosures should be overhauled or at least tweaked in some way. The group meets tomorrow morning, and chances are they'll be looking at the system more critically in light of this foreclosure scandal. Laura?